Good morning, everyone. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. Welcome. Hi, everyone. Welcome to our live session today. I'm just going to give everybody a few minutes to join. If you can hear me, please leave a thumbs up in our chat box below. Okay. Just going to wait for some people to join us here. How's everyone doing today? Let me know where you're tuning in from. We've got a few people. Hi, Ramon. Awesome. Where is everyone tuning in from today? I'm calling from Toronto, Canada, and it's rainy and gloomy, so I do hope that it's a little bit sunny for you guys there. We got a few people from India, some folks from Canada. Welcome. We've got someone tuning in from Namibia, Nepal. It's awesome. We've got Germany. I think I have some clients here. Hi, everybody. Nice to see everyone. Just going to give us a few more minutes for everyone to join us, and then we can get started. We've got some pretty important news coming up about the new temporary public policy for permanent residents. So the new pathways that are coming in, that have been released and coming up on May 6th. So that's our big news for today. We've got Sri Lanka, Nigeria, awesome. We've got Russia. Hi, everyone. Okay. All right, we've got 74 people. We've got some people tuning in from YouTube, some people tuning in from Facebook. Make sure you guys list and post your questions for me. I am going to be answering some questions at the end of our session today. So feel free to post them now. Our team will be able to put them together, and I'll be able to help answer those for you guys at the end. We've got visitors from Macedonia, Algeria, Afghanistan. Some questions about investment, business immigration, for sure. I'm definitely able to answer that later for you guys. Awesome. I hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, taking care of yourself. It's nice to connect. All right. Okay. Well, let's get started, guys. Thank you for joining our Facebook Live session for today. As I shared a little bit earlier, we host these sessions to give you guys, an immigration update, what's been going on in Canada, pathways for permanent residents, work permits. It all varies month to month, so you'll be able to get all your latest updates here during our live sessions. As well, we do a question and answer period at the end. So if you have any questions for me, I am a licensed Canadian immigration consultant with Visa Place. Visa Place is a Canadian immigration law firm here based in Toronto, Canada. If you guys have heard of us, that's great. So I'm excited to be doing this with you guys today. All right, let's see here. Okay, so let's talk about what's on our agenda for today. The big news is the new pathways for permanent residents. And more specifically for recent graduates, so international students in Canada, healthcare workers, also workers in essential occupations, and the pathway and what that looks like for permanent residents that's coming up, okay? As well, I am going to be sharing a few tips for submitting the application, some important things to know for those of us who are in Canada who may qualify for these programs, what you can do to kind of get ready to fill the permanent residence application, okay? As well, I am going to do a brief update on Express Entry, what the recent draws are looking like, and what's coming in the near future. As well, stick around for our Q&A session at the end, and I'll also share a 25% discount code for you to book a consultation with either myself or any of my team of colleagues here. Okay. All right. All right. So on April 14th, 2021, just a few weeks ago, less than 2 weeks ago, the Honorable Marco Mendicino, which is our Minister of Immigration here, announced 4 new pathways to permanent residence. So what does that mean? That looks like 90,000 essential workers and international students who are here and actively contributing to Canada's economy are now eligible to apply for permanent residence. So 90,000 applications is quite a big number. It's exciting stuff because it is relevant to what's going on with the global pandemic here. These special programs will be able to grant permanent residence to international students, workers who are already working and who have the skills and experience to fight the pandemic and help rebuild our Canadian economy. So the program is going to be open on May 6th. So that's when the applications are going to be accepted, and that's going to run until November 5th, so later this year, or until the quota has been met. The Minister of Immigration has released a quota for each stream, which I will share with you guys shortly, based on each one of the pathways, okay? So the quota is important because this is a very popular stream for people. A lot of people are excited about it. So I do think that the quotas are going to fill up fairly quickly, okay? So it's important for us to get ahead of that, get your permanent residence application going, and try and get you guys a spot. As well, a few notable things about the new pathways. It really reinforces Canada's 2021 immigration targets, right? So we're bringing in 401,000 new immigrants this year for permanent residence. And so this 90,000 is a big chunk of that, almost a quarter of that quota for this year. So we're looking like we're still on trend towards the quota. We're still trying to meet it. And we can tell that the minister is very supportive of that by releasing such an innovative program. The new pathway for permanent residence, this one is meant to be accelerated. So we are looking at hopefully a faster processing time. It's not really clear if it's going to be as fast as Express Entry, which is normally around 6 months, but now we're looking at least 8 to 10 months. But it will encourage and help those who do qualify for the new pathways to stay and continue working in Canada and get permanent residence faster. Another key thing to note about this new program is that it really highlights French-speaking and bilingual candidates. They remain a top priority for Canada and for immigration here. So what that looks like is there's going to be no intake caps for the Francophone streams. So whereas the other streams for all other foreign nationals, there is a maximum number of applications allowed. For those who are French-speaking or bilingual, there's unlimited. So that runs until November 5th. So if you do speak French, you're in Canada, you'd be a great candidate for one of these programs, and we'd be happy to take a look at that. So I'm going to go over each of the pathways for us, just so that everybody can have an understanding of what it entails, and see, you know, also as well if you do qualify for that. So the first pathway that we're looking at is for recent graduates. This is for international students who recently graduated from a Canadian post-secondary institution. So international students, as you guys know, are still an important demographic and population for Canada. Following the extension of the postgraduate work permit for recent graduates that came out, this new public policy is going to help facilitate permanent residence for international students even faster. Usually international students have to wait and gain and accumulate at least 1 year of skilled work experience in order to qualify for Canadian experience costs. or one of the programs under Express Entry. But with this, you don't have to wait for your 1 year work experience, and you can apply for a permanent residence much sooner. So we all know that the pandemic right now, it's been a little bit difficult in the economy. There's not as many jobs possible, and our new grads are struggling a little bit to get a new job. So this will definitely help our new grads settle in and apply for permanent residence. So what are some of the requirements? You must have completed a degree, diploma, or certificate after January 2017, okay? So 18, 19, 20, 21. In the last couple of years, if you completed a program in Canada from an eligible institution, so usually a private college or a public college or university, you'd be eligible for that. One of the key details is that you do need to have completed, if it's a diploma or certificate, a program that's at least 2 years in duration. So unfortunately, if you completed a program that was maybe like 8 months or a year, you might not qualify. But if you do want us to check for that for you, then we'd be happy to take a look at that, okay? What else? You do have to be currently employed in Canada. So the good news is that it doesn't have to be a skilled job. It could be any job. You could be serving. You could be a frontline person. You could be working in an office. There's no minimum skill requirement that's required for the job, but you do need to have employment, okay? Another thing is that you do have to have the correct work authorization and temporary residence status to apply. So for those of you who are on a study permit right now, you do qualify, you do have that work authorization to work within the parameters of your study permit. Or if you're on a postgraduate work permit, that's definitely allowed as well too. One thing that we have to note here is that self-employment, unfortunately, would not qualify. The Canadian government is really focusing on helping people who are working, gainfully employed by an employer, businesses. So if you are self-employed, unfortunately, this program would not work out for us. One key aspect of the requirements for this program is the language proficiency. So you do have to be able to demonstrate that you can speak either English or French and demonstrate a level 5 proficiency in any of the language tests. So that we're looking at reading, listening, writing, and speaking, okay? Level 5 is all right. I think most of you can do it. So if you haven't booked your language tests already, make sure you go ahead and do that. Another aspect of this is the physical presence requirement to be in Canada, okay? So if some of you have left to go back to your home country for a bit, please be mindful that you do need to be physically present in Canada and reside here at the time of the application, as well as when your application for permanent residence is approved, okay? So if you're currently abroad right now, it might be worthwhile for you to come back and consider applying for this from within Canada, okay? For applicants who are in Quebec, you have to be able to show that you intend to reside outside of Quebec, okay? So like most of the federal programs, federal economic programs, if you intend to reside in Quebec, unfortunately that would disqualify you. But if you want to move to another province, Ontario, British Columbia, anywhere out east, you can apply for this program, okay? And most importantly, the intake cap for the pathway for recent graduates is 40,000. So that's 40,000, 40,000, which is a really high number. But there are a lot of international students here. There's a lot of buzz around this. It spread really quickly. I think a lot of people are kind of aware about it. So if you're super interested in applying for permanent residence under this program, you want to get a head start. You want to get in there and start preparing everything from now. May 6th is just around the corner, so that's next Thursday. We want to help you out. If you guys need, you can always book a consultation with us and we'd be happy to take a look. We have some great questions coming in here. All right. So let's talk about the second pathway for this new public policy. The other pathway, this is split up into two. So we're looking at two kind of sub-programs. One is for healthcare workers and the other is for essential occupations. So I'll talk about essential occupations shortly. But let's focus on healthcare workers. As you know, healthcare workers continue to be an important workforce during the pandemic and into the future, and Canada has really recognized that. You know, everyone's made significant contributions to support the health and well-being of Canadian citizens, permanent residents, and everybody that lives here, especially throughout this pandemic for the last year and a bit, as well as moving forward. So we're looking at helping people who are nurses, doctors, home support workers, and helping them integrate and settle in as permanent residents in Canada. One of the requirements of this program is that you do need to have 1 year of full-time work experience in the last 3 years, or the equivalent in part-time hours. So that's 1,560 hours, okay? It's similar to the Canadian experience cost. So if you were working 15 hours per week, for the last 2 years, that would be equal to 1 year of full-time work experience. And it needs to be in a select healthcare occupation. We're looking at health practitioners, lab technologists, registered and licensed practical nurses. We love our nurses. Thanks so much for doing what you guys do every single day and helping us out. Social workers, nurse aides, and patient care aides and assistants, okay? So there's a big list of medical practitioners and healthcare workers that do qualify. So if you're not sure whether your job occupation falls under one of these categories, make sure you check with somebody to see if you do qualify, because you really don't want to miss this opportunity. Another requirement for the eligibility is that you do need to be currently employed, okay, at the time your application is received. The benchmark for the language test is lower than the recent graduates, so it is a level 4, CLB level 4, which is on a scale of 1 to 10. So you do have to get that and score that, okay? And again, you do have to be in Canada right now and have valid temporary resident status, whether that's a visitor, a worker, or a student. And so the intake cap for this is 20,000. So 20,000 healthcare workers will be able to apply for permanent residence. I think this is a really great opportunity for some folks who may not have qualified for Canadian experience costs otherwise. Perhaps maybe your English language score wasn't strong enough. Usually it's a CLB 5 for a NOC B occupation, or a CLB 7 for a skilled NOC A or 0 application or job occupation. So the benchmark is a little bit lower, so that kind of gives people a little bit of wiggle room to apply for permanent residence under the stream. Okay. Let's talk about essential occupations. So not only healthcare workers, as you know, has been an important contribution for us, but essential occupations as well. I think this is really great. It highlights that, you know, there are other jobs in Canada that have been very critical for us during this time. And this pathway helps open doors for immigration for those folks as well too. So Stream B is the program that we're talking about here under this pathway. We're looking at occupations such as store cashiers and retail persons, postal workers, farm workers and harvest laborers, French and elementary and secondary school teachers, as well as home child care providers, and other laborers in food and beverage processing. It's been really interesting to kind of see the job occupations on this list. We also have taxi drivers and delivery or courier drivers, as well as construction workers and related trade occupations such as electricians and carpenters. This pathway is going to accept 30,000 applications. So if you do have a job and you've got the minimum experience, the 1 year of full-time work experience in one of these occupations, you may want to take a look at applying for this. The work experience can be combined. So for example, if you've only completed a portion of your experience requirement in one of these Stream B occupations, you can mix it with Stream A if you are a healthcare worker as well too. Okay. So let's talk about some tips and tricks for us to prepare for this PR application. I think a lot of you might be interested into knowing what's happening, how is it going to be rolled out, how is it going to be implemented. And right now, there's actually not too much information that's been released. We do have the public policies that the immigration announced, but beyond that, we haven't heard too much, just kind of like what we're talking about amongst immigration consultants and lawyers, as well as some of the governing bodies. There are some discussions with the government. So we are able to share some details and information that we have received, but immigration is supposed to be releasing a guide with more detailed instructions very soon. So the number one tip that I have for everybody is book your language test as soon as possible, if you haven't already. As soon as this pathway announced, all of the testing centers were booked. I'm hearing that June, July is probably the earliest test date that's available. But I really want everybody to kind of explore the parameters, expand your boundaries a little bit. If you need to drive somewhere that's an hour away to write your test sooner, I would definitely do that and consider that, because having this English language test is going to be one of the requirements up front to apply for permanent residence, okay? So as I shared, you do have to demonstrate a language level proficiency of at least 5 for international students, as well as 4 for essential workers. Okay. Employment. So one of the criteria is for you to have gainful employment in Canada. So this can be in any occupation, as I shared, any skill level, and it can be part-time or full-time. Unfortunately, self-employment does not count, okay? So if you are self-employed right now, maybe consider, hopefully finding a job or doing something to be able to change your employment situation so that you can qualify to apply for permanent residence. In terms of the intake, there is a new online portal that's going to be created. We don't have too many details on that yet, but it may be within the current CIC portal, or it could be a different one. We'll have to stay tuned and see what that's going to look like. But one of the, I guess, tidbits that we did hear was that all documentation, all eligibility criteria must be met upfront in order to apply for permanent residence. You can apply to multiple streams. So for example, if you are a recent graduate and you're also a healthcare worker, you would be eligible to apply to both, but you do have to pay the processing fees for both streams, okay? So if you do want to maximize your chances, that'd be a good idea. The stream will close when the cap is reached, okay? So when a complete permanent residence application is submitted, that is going to be counted towards the intake. So it's first in, first out. There's not going to be any invitation to apply process. There's no preliminary round or anything like that. If you qualify, you submit your documentation, and if you've got all your documentation together, then that entire application is counted towards the quota. So there's some talk about they're having a counter where we can kind of have a live update of how much quota or how much room is left in there, but we're going to have to see what that looks like for us. Okay, what else here? So experience can be gained from within Quebec. So if you're working in Montreal and if you got that work experience, that's fine. But as I shared, you do have to show that you're going to tend to reside outside of Quebec when you become a permanent resident. As well, accompanying family members can be included, provided that they're with you, they're in Canada, or they qualify as an accompanying family member. Family members do not count towards the quota, which is good. So if you do think you qualify, make sure to book a consultation with us so that we can verify your eligibility and help you initiate your PR application. There are certain documents and requirements that accompany all permanent residence applications. So although not all of the details have been released yet, we are very well equipped to get applicants ready, get them a head start, and put them on the right path in terms of applying for this permanent residence ahead of everybody else. Time is of the essence here, okay? And being able to get that competitive edge by having all your documentation ready, that's what's really going to set you apart from everyone else, from the general public. Okay. I see a lot of you are tuning in from outside of Canada. We've got some questions. If you guys have questions that's not related to the public policy as well, make sure to post them and I can help answer that. I'm going to talk about the immigration levels, the caps, as well as express entry, because I know that a lot of us are tuning in from outside of Canada. With the extended border closures, Canada is considering residents here for a reason, but it doesn't mean that permanent residents won't be open to individuals who are outside of the country. So for those of you who do qualify for federal skilled worker, there's still a chance to get in this year in terms of express entry, whether that's PNP or other immigration programs as well. The remaining quota for 2021 is probably around 42,600. That's what I've calculated just based on this round. So including the 90,000 applicants, as well as what has occurred from year to date towards the quota, okay? So CEC, Canadian Experience Class, and PNP draws will continue for the rest of the year, most likely. I think there's gonna be at least 7 more draws. So if we're following the same pattern as last year, that's still gonna continue. The most recent CEC draw had a minimum score of 417. So it looks like we're on the downward trend for that. So it seems like anyone who's in Canada who has the 1 year of work experience, the points are continuing to get lower and lower, which is really great, provides more accessibility for everyone to apply. And as anticipated, the federal skilled workers draw will continue to start up again this summer. So last year was around July, August. Most likely it will be the same for this year. So if you're in the pool, waiting for an invitation, we're just gonna have to keep posted on what that looks like. But if you're not in the pool, then you wanna kind of get working on your documentation from now, because it takes at least 2 months to apply for all of those and to put your information into the express entry pool. As well, I shared on a previous Facebook Live that I think there's going to be a really big federal skilled trades draw that's due to happen this year. So anyone that works in skilled trades, that's an opportunity for you to apply for permanent residence, whether you're in Canada or outside of Canada. If you're outside of Canada, it's very possible for you to get an invitation to apply. There's just certain parameters that you need to meet in order to qualify for federal skilled trades. So if you're not aware of it, make sure you book a consultation with us so that we can take a look at that for you and help point you in the right direction. If you otherwise qualify for federal skilled worker or federal skilled trades or PNP, now is the time to start the process, take a look at it, and consult with us so that we can help guide you guys. All right, so I think that's it for our updates on the new public policy pathways. I hope you guys found that interesting. I am going to open the floor to our Q&A period. I know that you guys have a lot of good questions here, so I'm going to take a look at that and then help answer some of your questions, okay? Let's see here. If you guys have any questions, feel free to post them, okay? And then I'll get to them. So the first question that I have is, I have a TRV for Canada and I want to invest 100,000. Can I start some in Canada? Great question. So we do have a few investor, entrepreneur, and investment programs in Canada. So if you have a visitor visa, that's a great opportunity. There's some provinces that do require you to come and book a visit, an exploratory visit. So either meeting with the province's partners, business partners, exploring your business opportunities in Canada. That's a really great opportunity for you to get in and figure out what it takes to open a business here. In terms of the minimum funds, at 100,000 that you mentioned, I'm not sure if that's Canadian or USD, but some provinces do have a minimum investment of 150,000. So that's a program that a lot of people are interested in. Your net worth, you're looking at around 300,000 for those programs. So if that's something that you're interested in, I'd love to speak to you about it. We do business immigration here at Visa Place. We have lots of folks who have money, they want to open a business, they want to get into the labor market here. And there's some really great opportunities in these provinces. So definitely take a look at that, and we'd be happy to help. Okay, is there any way to extend an IEC visa? And if I couldn't get back into the country and lost out on time, would they make an exception and give me that? So there are options for you to extend your visa. I believe there's only certain requirements for you to change employers. I'm not sure if you've already activated your IEC work permit, but if you've received the approval, then that does count towards the participation. But if you have a work permit, you've already been issued, you should be able to get back into Canada, okay? I think maybe we should probably take a look at that, especially if you're qualified for IEC, you're most likely qualified for other work permit options, whether that you're from the UK or from European Union countries. Depending on what your work experience is like, you'd most likely be eligible for other work permits too. So we should probably check into that. Can I enter Canada as an extended family member? I have experience as a receptionist and have a high school diploma. I am 44. Can I apply? Okay, can I enter Canada as an extended family member? Yeah, it depends on your relationship with the Canadian citizen or permanent resident. If you're their grandparent, if you're in an exclusive dating relationship with them, I think certain other criteria that exist there. So yes, you could if you have a visitor visa, if you require one that is, or if you are exempt, then you do qualify to get a family reunification approval as an extended family member. You've added some information about your work experience here. I think if you are married or in a common law union with a Canadian citizen, you may be able to get an open work permit to qualify, but I think I need a few more details there for you to understand what the situation is looking like. For the new streams, how long does it take and what is the cost? Great question. It's still unclear how long the processing time will be. It could be a range of 8 to 10 months, upwards to 12 to 14. That's probably what we're looking at for permanent residents, just based on the other programs that's available to us right now. But we're really unclear in terms of how long the final processing time will be. In terms of the cost, the government processing fees for most PR applications is $1,050. We did hear from the Canadian government that I think it's going to be a little bit less than that amount. So we're not sure yet, but we're going to have to stay tuned and see what that the government fee is. If you're interested in applying, book a consultation with us with the discount code that I'm going to share. We'll review your eligibility, and then we can see how we can help you there as well. I want to bring my little sister here in Canada. What can I do? She's a refugee in Africa. Great question. So we do help in some situations for your sister. You know, if you guys have the funds, then, you know, maybe the study permit route would be great for her. If you guys want to put her in a study path program, have her study here and then apply for permanent residence in the medium to long term. Otherwise, if she's got a UNHCR certificate, we can look at doing a group of 5 for her, as well as, you know, maybe she qualifies under other family class applications, depending on your family situation. So if you want us to take a look at that further, we'd be happy to. It just really depends on the exact circumstances for your family as well as your sister. What about students who have concluded school, but graduation is not until June 2020? Would we have to wait until graduation, or can we apply with a transcript? That's an excellent question. So the transcripts are one of the requirements. If you have your degree or diploma, that's great. But if you haven't officially received any of that yet, and you're still kind of waiting to graduate, I think there are ways for us to apply, similar to postgraduate work permit eligibility. We could provide supporting documentation and have the immigration officer consider that as proof that you've completed your program, as well as the criteria for one of the pathways. So I don't think it's impossible. I think we can definitely do it. But definitely you may want to have a legal professional look at that, provide the documentation, and prepare some submissions in order for you to qualify. Okay. Is only IELTS accepted to prove language proficiency? If I have a US master's degree, do I still need to prove my English? So the answer to that is yes. If you do have a US master's degree, you still have to prove your English. Everybody that's applying for permanent residence still has to write an English language test within the last 2 years. So IELTS is not the only test that you can write. We do have other ones. There's French ones as well as CELPIP, CELPIP. That's often a English language test that people, I guess, don't think about or consider. But there are different ones that you can book as well as write. So IELTS is not the only one. Okay. I am a final year student in Japan. I am about to complete my bachelor's degree. Congratulations, by the way, on almost finishing school. What are the viable options for me to move to Canada as soon as I finish my studies end of this year? That's an awesome question. Being a Japanese national, you may qualify for an IEC, International Experience Canada, or Working Holiday Permit. So that is open to Japanese citizens, and so you may be able to get a work permit there in order for you to come to Canada and move here. As well as Japan is a signatory in terms of a free trade agreement with Canada. So depending on what you completed your bachelor's degree and what is your job occupation, you may be able to get a work permit as well if you have an employer in Canada. Or if you want to do some additional studies, if you want to, practice your English, or if you want to take a diploma after school, a postgraduate diploma or certificate, you've got, a few options there for you to come to Canada. Okay. I am on a work permit for the last 3 years. Can cooks be eligible for this? Are you on an LMIA, LMIA-based work permit? I think, let me just see here. I think you'd be qualified for other programs, but unfortunately for the pathways, the new pathways for permanent residents, cooks and chefs are not on the list, unfortunately. But you may qualify for either federal skilled trades or express entry, especially if you have a work permit already. That's going to give you a little bit of an edge in terms of additional points for the LMIA. So make sure to check that you qualify and book a consultation with us so we can take a look at that further. But definitely, if you've been here for the last 3 years, you've been working full time, you should be eligible to apply for permanent residence. Could I repeat what I said about self-employment? Absolutely. So under the new pathways, self-employment is not considered as employment in order to qualify for their program. So a lot of that we see as taxi drivers, or if you own your own business, even for Canadian experience costs, self-employment work does not qualify. So I think that the purpose and the goal that Canadian immigration is trying to achieve here is to help the economy. So if you are self-employed right now, you may want to look at other programs for immigration, such as federal skilled worker or self-employed persons costs, or depending on what else you're doing in terms of your role, you may qualify for provincial nominee programs. But for the pathways that I mentioned today, unfortunately, that self-employment would not qualify as current work. I hope that answers your question. What about people who are not in Canada? Will be sending my statutory declaration? Is written authorization given when I apply for ETA from Portugal? If you're a Portuguese citizen and you're applying for an ETA, that does not count as written authorization. So if you are visiting a family member, or if you qualify for one of the exemptions to the current border restrictions, you do need to seek additional permission to enter Canada, depending on who you're visiting. So I think if that's what you're talking about, then yeah, we're looking at family reunification under COVID exemptions. Can I get a tourist visa if you're from Myanmar to Canada? Yes, you can if you've got a genuine purpose to visit in Canada. If you're visiting a friend or family member, if you have a business opportunity, immigration is still processing visitor visa applications. They're not closed. They may be delayed, but definitely if you qualify and have a good reason to come to Canada, you can apply for a tourist visa currently. Yeah. Are French speakers applying for international student stream included in the 40,000 applicants limit? Great question. So Francophone speakers, whether you're bilingual, speak English and French, there is no intake limit, okay? So you can apply from May 6th until November. That's not included in the 40,000. So that's open for all Francophones through the rest of the year, okay? Let me just check here. Yeah, I don't think so. All French speakers have unlimited quotas. Yeah, definitely unlimited. That's right. Okay, so a few more questions here. I graduated from 2 private colleges in Vancouver and have a hospitality management diploma and postgraduate nursing certificate, and now my visa is expiring on April 30th. I have already applied for a visitor visa. Am I eligible to apply for the new pathway? Okay, so 2 private colleges in Vancouver, hospitality management diploma and postgraduate nursing certificate. I think if you completed 2 programs and they equal to 2 years in duration, which it sounds like most likely it is, you would be eligible to apply for the new pathway for recent graduates. So great news on finishing up your programs. I think this pathway is definitely the one for you, especially if you're not working right now. I see that you switched to visitor status, which is great. So you may want to take a look at that closer and see if we can apply for permanent residence for you. Any chance for lawyers in P&P programs? Great question. In terms of lawyers, it's a little bit difficult, especially if you're a foreign trained lawyer, but it's not impossible to qualify for permanent residence under any of the P&P programs. If you have a job offer, you can apply for P&P most definitely, as well as, I'm not sure, but we'd have to check to see if any of the provinces has this as an occupation in demand. But there is a chance if you are a foreign trained lawyer, and maybe consider doing something else that's relevant to the legal profession or industry. You may not be a lawyer when you come to Canada or not right away, but if you want to do something that's related, that might help you get your foot in the door in terms of applying for permanent residence. When do you believe they will start processing visitor visas to Canada? We applied 10 months ago. I'm Canadian, married to a Colombian. Okay. So they are processing visitor visa applications, but they are just prioritizing ones that are urgent, ones that you need to come to Canada right away. They're not on pause or closed right now, as I mentioned earlier, but it's just a matter of getting through the backlog and getting to your visitor visa application. If there is an urgent reason that may qualify you for expedited processing, maybe reach out to us and we'd be happy to take a look at that. As well as if your Colombian spouse is in a certain occupation, we could possibly get them a work permit to apply, because Colombia and Canada does have a free trade agreement that allows for some flexibility and mobility between the 2 countries. So that's a possibility for us as well too. Okay. If you're not in Canada, do you have to do the English exam prior to applying for the PR? If so, how can it be done outside of Canada? Okay, so yes, if you're not in Canada, you can still apply if you qualify, especially if you were here and then you left. There are English language testing centers everywhere in the world. You've got the IELTS. You've also got CELPIP in select countries. So it's a matter of taking a look at that and registering for an English language test. Okay. So yes, you do need to do that before applying for permanent residence. That is one of the eligibility criteria. So you want to get going on that as soon as possible. If you want further instructions on that, we'd be happy to guide you in the right direction if you qualify and book a consultation with us. I have multiple family members in Canada, including my mother and 3 brothers. Is there a pathway for me? Okay. So assuming that you're outside of Canada and you've got some of your family members here, yeah, there might be a pathway for you, especially if they're Canadian citizens or permanent residents. You may be able to get a few additional points, depending on your age as well too. Maybe your mom can sponsor you. Yeah, it really depends on your personal situation. If you want us to take a look at that closer, then just book a consultation with us and we can explore that pathway for you. For the new program, how much is the proof of funds? Great question, very detailed. So the proof of funds, we're not 100% sure about the criteria or the requirement for that yet. Typically what we've seen across other immigration programs is that if you have a job, most likely you won't have to show proof of funds. But generally, if you want to have an understanding of what that looks like, proof of funds, if there is a requirement, it will likely be about $16,000 for a family of 1. There is a published list of the criteria there for other PR applications so that you can kind of take a look at that and see if you at least kind of meet that benchmark. I've got 2 more questions here before we go. What's the cost for our consultation? Great question. One of my colleagues is posting that in the chat box below. I'll share the discount code with you guys shortly so that you can book a consultation. But the information is there. It's also available on our website, so visaplace.com. Go to our webpage, take a look at the services that we provide, check us out, and any of us would be happy to consult with you guys. What are the regulations for, oh, we have more questions. Okay. What are the regulations for study permit from Cuba? I have 5 years of university in Cuba and I want to take a course in cooking at a college in Nova Scotia. There's no specific study permit requirements for you in Cuba, but you have to be a bona fide student, which means that you are genuinely pursuing your studies because that makes sense for you based on your past work experience as well as moving forward into your future career plans. But one of the other aspects that you need to consider is the ability to fund yourself during school, so paying for your tuition and having enough money to pay for cost of living, as well as what your family situation looks like in Cuba and in Canada. So if you want to take a look at that, help apply for your study permit, especially if you have a letter of acceptance, that's awesome. We can help you out with that. Okay. I've been wanting to go to school in Canada from America and then turn that into a post-grad work permit. But all the courses are being taught online at the moment. I see they are trying to help people currently enrolled in school to get a postgraduate work permit. But since I am not currently enrolled, should I wait until courses are taught on campus again, or will they continue to provide alternative options during this pandemic? Excellent question. You are right in the sense that some of the courses are taught online and remotely right now, but that doesn't disqualify you from having a from being eligible to apply for a postgraduate work permit. I believe right now that public policy is extended until the end of the year. So if you enroll for either the May program or the winter program and do your courses online, you still are eligible for that postgraduate work permit, okay? I don't know if it's going to be extended through to next year. So if you're really interested in applying for school in Canada, you want to get started on that for the fall semester, okay? All righty, let's see here. A few more questions. My daughter is a teacher in Jamaica. What is the best pathway for her to come to Canada? We've got a lot of teachers interested in applying for permanent residence. There's a few different options that we have. we can take a look at that further, but, if she wants to study here additionally, or if she has a job offer, that's most likely your best options for her to come to Canada. Can I apply for PR while I have submitted the postgraduate work permit application? Means that applying for PR being under implied status? Yes. If you are implied status, maintain status, that means you have correct temporary residence status. You're not out of status, most definitely. So you can still apply for the pathway for permanent residence on implied status. Great question. Can you apply for PNP when you go to Canada via international company transfer, ICT, so intercompany transfer? Yeah, most likely, yes. If you have an ICT-based work permit and you got a job offer from your employer, either for a year or on a permanent basis, you most likely qualify for PNP. So depending on where you are, we can definitely take a look at that and help put you on a pathway for permanent residence. But the answer is definitely yes. The recent draws that happened were targeting the Canadian Experience Cost and PNP. Are there draws happening for Federal Skilled Worker Program for those outside of Canada? Most likely, yes. We don't know for sure yet, but if we're following what's happening last year, what happened last year for the express entry rounds, for Federal Skilled Worker, the general draw or no program specified will most likely continue from the summer until the end of the year. So absolutely, I think yes. We still have a bit of room for the quota for immigration. So that does include people and those who are outside of Canada. I've been working as an executive assistant for over a year since I don't have a degree. It's my only option to apply for PNP through OIMP. Okay, so let's see here. My option only to apply for PR through the OIMP. It could be through Ontario PNP if you have a job offer. There is a stream for that for Ontario PNP. But maybe also you can qualify for express entry for Canadian Experience Costs, especially that you've been working for over a year. I know you mentioned that you don't have a degree, but the scores are dropping. We're at around 415, 417 right now. So for those of you who have a one-year diploma or even high school, I really think that the realm of receiving an invitation to apply is within your reach. So if that's something that is of interest to you, my recommendation is to start looking at express entry. Do not wait. We only have about maybe seven potential draws left for Canadian Experience Costs. So you don't want to miss the opportunity, especially because the points are dropping so low. Okay. So I'd love to look at that for you. We can do an assessment in terms of your points, in terms of eligibility, whether that's likely for you, and apply for permanent residence under express entry. Okay, let's see here. For recent graduates, French speakers outside of Quebec pathway, what are exactly the documents we need to prepare for our request, and can you explain the submission process? In terms of the documentation, we can definitely share that with you if you want to work with us in terms of applying for the permanent residence. There's actually quite a few documentation that you need for all permanent residence applications. And so we've been helping a lot of our clients who signed up with us to apply for PR through the pathway. So they're currently working on the documentation right now. They have the head start in terms of getting that and applying for PR. So if you want us to help you out, we could definitely take a look, and we'd be happy to work with you. In terms of the submission process, as I shared earlier, it's likely going to be a new online electronic intake system where you upload all of your immigration details, all of your personal circumstances, your personal history, as well as all of the eligibility criteria and documentation to submit a full PR application. So that is going to be required up front in order for a PR application to be considered and counted towards the quota. Okay, hope that answers your question. Okay. Let's see here. I think I'm going to answer one more question and then we're going to call it a day. For express entry, is IELTS required? Yes, you do need to complete IELTS before express entry. Let's see here. I'm going to answer one more question. I already submitted my agricultural pilot application last December 2020, and they have already received my application. It emailed me that they received it. But you're in the queue waiting for it to review, and until now, they don't have any updates on your application. Do you think I should follow up or call them regarding your application? If you want us to take a look at that, we can definitely help see what's going on. Most likely, you can send a follow-up. I don't think calling them will help you out, but if you want to do a case-specific inquiry and see what's going on, then you can kind of make sure and check to see that your application's going as planned, but it could just be a processing delay right now. All right. So thanks so much, everyone, for all the great questions today. Lots of interest on the new pathways for permanent residents. I know some of you are in Canada, and then there are those of you who are outside of Canada. Yeah, the exciting stuff for the new public policy. I hope everyone was able to take something away, either what's coming in the future for immigration. If you need us to help take a look at your personal situation a little bit more, as I mentioned, book a consultation with us. We'd love to connect with you and figure out what we can do to help bring you to Canada. For 25% off your consultation with me or any of our other consultants, there's a discount code that I think we're going to be sharing in the chat box. It's VN25 if you want to book a consultation with us, okay? So I hope to see you guys soon. Until next time, stay safe and take care. Bye-bye.